You're listening to Just 3 Clicks, and this is episode 28, where we're going to be talking about vision, mission, and values, why you need them and how to create them. Any initial thoughts?
Well, this is quite a new thing for us. It's quite a new thing, like a new concept. So we're going to talk about it from, I guess, our perspective in kind of discovering that you need this in your business and what we're doing at the minute, I guess. If you're kind of, you've been through business school or you've done an MBA or studied any kind of traditional business, I guess this is something that you may just do naturally. But for us, I guess we rebelled, did we, at the start?
Yeah, I think it's just like we didn't think it was really that important. And I think it's like your company's got to be at a stage where these things really do start making a difference. And I think we're probably at a stage now where these things will really help make a difference.
But if you started a company again, would you get it all in place at the start?
Yeah, I think it's hard really because you almost don't want to constrain yourself like when you start because you're still figuring things out, like your direction. And if you look at our product, it's evolved a lot. And I think we're getting to a stage now where we're about to transform the product, and these values actually play a big part of that.
Yeah, but those values were in place when we started the business.
That's true. We did actually have them.
We just didn't write them down on paper.
Yeah, we didn't make it a part of our living.
It became part of our marketing speak, like just 3 clicks.
Yeah.
But then we didn't apply that to the entire business. Whereas if we'd have actually taken that and said, this is one of our values, or it's part of our mission, then it would have been easier to communicate. So
yeah,
kind of like digressed a bit there, but I think, it's not something you have to do, but it's really, I wish going back, we would have maybe taken it more seriously as a concept. Because I think it would have stopped us making a few mistakes in the business.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, to give it some context, like essentially the reason that you would want to kind of do this kind of thing, giving yourself a kind of some parameters to work with, is it gives you direction ultimately. So it's like any goal in life, isn't it? Like if you don't know what the end result's supposed to be, how do you actually navigate there and get there? You won't know what decisions to make.
It's like an example, right? So like I'm buying a shower tray at the minute. I'm getting a new shower installed in my house.
Yeah.
And it's quite a specific size. So if I go to the website and just look at every shower tray, I could be like, oh my God, this shower tray is amazing. Like I don't know, maybe it's soft on your feet, or maybe you can give you a foot massage as you get in a shower. It does all these cool things, but then it doesn't do it in the size that I need.
Yeah.
That's like kind of what it's pointless for me getting that shower tray. Now apply that to an employee or a product or something in your business. It may add value in one area, but if it doesn't fit with your core values as a business, it's not going to fit long term. It might do something interesting, or that person might add value in one area, but it may not be a long term fit. They may not fit in with a team, or they won't fit in with the culture of the business. And that's kind of where I think you need to understand what your mission is, what you stand for as a business, because I think it kind of filters down to every facet of the business, to how you hire people, how you onboard people, how you decide what you're making, everything really.
I guess it's like one of the things just to be aware of, like there's a point here on the notes about it, like it's okay if you don't know it on day one, and I think we're probably proof that it's okay you don't know it on day one.
Yeah,
like it is one of the things that you probably have to, you might have it on day one, but it might change, it might chop and change, but having something down as a concept is really important. Now we did have it, we just didn't conceptualize it as a mission, like the mission statement or whatever. So let's talk about the 3 things anyway. Like, so you've got a mission, you got a vision statement, or a vision if you want to just call it a vision, and then you got your mission, and then you got your values that basically play into those 2 things. So if we think about it from kind of like the perspective of a house, I guess it's one of the things that I've read about recently. It's like your culture, right, is like a big part of your mission and your values. So you have all of your organizational context in the middle of your house. So your people, your processes, and all of that stuff, and everything sits kind of like in the middle. Then you have a foundation and you have a roof. So your foundation is basically like your mission and your values. So that's kind of where they would sit within your house. And then at the top, you have the vision. So everything basically around your foundation, your values and your mission is pretty much dragged by the people inside your house. And then everybody works towards getting to the roof of the house. And that's pretty much how they all sit within the layers. So the best place to start is opposite to how you would actually build a house is starting with that kind of vision. So the vision is essentially your ultimate aim, where you're going and the stuff in the future, right? So I don't know, what would that even be? Like, I don't know, let's think of some examples maybe.
Well, think about like Uber as an example. What would Uber's mission be?
I suppose, I mean, without Googling it, I wouldn't know, but probably getting people around quickly, safely, uh, just essentially within a couple of seconds of using an app, I suppose, like that
Can you
kind of
guys
thing.
find out what if they do have a mission statement?
Yeah,
It'd be
yeah,
quite
we can
interesting.
find it. Uber vision statement.
Because like, things like that are quite kind of. I mean, it'd be good to study other people's kind of.
I mean, when we did it, we looked at Canva as an
Yeah.
example because similar kind of business. So Uber's mission statement 2021. Uber's mission statement, it's not their vision, but the mission statement is transportation as reliable as running water everywhere for everyone. That's a cool statement. I like that. So I guess their emphasis is really on reliability. Like that's the big thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, you kind of need that if you think about. I've got a reservation for a restaurant at 8 p.m. You want to understand you're going to get there on time. So I think if you imagine calling a taxi or an Uber, you would imagine Uber would get you there on time because you can see you got control over where they are, and so I think that's an example of, I guess, their product matching.
yeah.
What the
So just to elaborate, the vision actually is transportation as reliable as running water everywhere for everyone. So that is the vision statement. That's their overarching ultimate goal. And then, so if there's a really good article here, so it says if you analyze the vision, it's basically saying reliable transportation, transportation in everywhere, and transportation for everyone. So those are kind of like the three, I suppose, the big pointers of the vision. And then you got their mission, which is different. It says we ignite opportunity by setting the world in motion. So that's a little bit different.
Yeah, because that works for the drivers too.
Yeah.
So it's an opportunity for people to make money. It's an opportunity for people to obviously, actually get transported, get driven around.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You've got it there. So it says Uber's creating opportunities for both drivers and riders. It's creating jobs for drivers to earn, empty seats to be shared with the same destinations. It's saving costs from the side of the riders. Uber's helping worldwide millions of people to be financially independent, XYZ. So yeah, that's kind of like a two-sided one, isn't it? It's good. The wordplay is really good as well. It's not wordplay, but it's just good choice of words. Like we ignite opportunity. It's like
what happens when you've got billions of dollars to spend on this kind of thing.
It's great copy there as well. Like really good copy. I mean, to give it some context from our perspective, we're doing this right now. We're going through the process of kind of ironing out what our vision and mission are. Even though we know where we're going as a company, we want to get it more finite so that we can embark it within our company.
As well, you may know where you're going. As a founder of a company, yeah, you may know where you're going in your mind. You may know where you need to go. But as your organization grows, you've got to communicate that to the team because they all need to know where you're going to. And I think, we've been guilty in the past of not doing that. Whereas if you had a mission statement, vision statement, etc., everyone can read that as part of their onboarding. And you can build upon that. You can have more collateral. We could have a video talking about it. And then you can just update it every year. Literally, it goes in a diary. Do we need to update our mission statement, or are we still on the same mission? Do we need to update our vision statement, or is our vision still the same? And I think if you just did that once a year, everybody in the business would know where you're going, even once every 6 months. Like, because I think as a small company, you can change direction quite quickly. But then everything you do in that business, like every single day, someone can ask themselves, am I moving us towards our vision, or am I moving us away from it, or are we not? Are we just sort of standing still? And I think it gives someone like a barometer to check what they're doing against, like, and that's
Yeah.
that's what I think as your organization grows, I think you need that. And it's that's why I wish we'd have done it sooner and probably paid more attention to it, and actually, taking it seriously. Because I think as entrepreneurs, you sometimes rebel against traditional kind of business kind of principles, don't you? It's kind of, that's bullshit. We don't need to do that. That's overkill. We just need to go and make sales. We need to make some money. These are all good things to think, but there is things underneath, like the foundational elements of a business, which I think, if they're not there, it may not impact you in the first year or 2 or 3, but eventually you'll get to a stage where you think, we've got a pain and we can't just fix it. It needs kind of the foundations rebuilding.
Yeah. So like, if we start with the vision as the first one, like as a definition, like, so the vision is the ability to think about or plan the future with imagination or wisdom. So that's basically what vision is. So what you're trying to do with this is describe the desired long-term result of your business. So what you're trying to accomplish long-term, end game, like what is the big goal? Or sometimes we hear the terminology of like your North Star, like what's the North Star in the business? It has to be bold, it should be inspiring, it should be ambitious. And a big kind of thing like you'll see bigger companies do is they'll kind of make it about how they're going to make a difference like in the world, which I know sounds a little bit like woolly, I suppose, but I think every business should probably try and do that. Like they should try and aspire to like change the way something works fundamentally in the world. And I think having an audacious goal kind of makes you do bigger shit, basically. I can read our one where we're at the moment. This isn't finalized, but it's pretty much in a final draft before we share this with our entire organization. So the reason we're doing it in phases. So you don't want to, if you've already got a company, by the way, if you've already got people in there, you don't want to just like come up with one and then just say this is the mission or this is the vision, because what will happen is people won't buy into it. Like the whole idea with this is making it collaborative with your people. So what we've done is myself and our content person Nindy have put together a draft, and then we're going to share this with everyone in the company, get feedback, put it through a couple of more iterations, then we'll finalize it and say, right, this is the thing that we will believe in. So just to give you an idea of our vision, so the one we have right now is tearing down the barriers to video creation so that every single person on the planet can easily whip together awesome video content and achieve phenomenal results and get everyone closer to their ultimate goal. So our vision is a little bit more, it's longer. So right now, I don't like how long it is. Like, so that's a bit of feedback I'm probably going to give back to Nindy. And I think most people will have the same feedback. It's quite lengthy. But ultimately, it covers everything we're trying to do. So we're trying to tear the barriers down. When we use words like tearing down the barrier, we've used that terminology specifically because our company, like personality, is quite rebellious. It's a little bit like edgy. We're not a corporate company, so the way we talk is a little bit more informal. So we say we're going to tear the barriers down so everybody can whip together content. So the word whip has come out because we've got a lot of play on the words of like making food and cooking. So when we talk about making videos, we say baking videos. It's one of the things we did originally back in 2015 was, your videos baking, because the whole idea with our product is you would choose a template, you'd put it in the oven makes your template and it spits out and you've got your cake basically. So that was the whole kind of thing with it. So that's why we use those kinds of words, and it tells us essentially what we're trying to achieve long term. Anything you'd add to that? What does that sound like to you?
A bit lengthy. It needs
Quite
to
long, isn't it?
Yeah. I think I was thinking along the lines of helping business owners get back to business. I mean, I think about our target market at small businesses, and I've got a mother-in-law who's she makes wedding cakes, my wife's a dog groomer. Now her business isn't the business of making video, it's the business of grooming dogs. But she can use video to market a business, and I think as a small business owner, you become kind of what you are, plus a marketer, an accountant, and I think what we help people do is get back to business, reclaim time for what they specialize in. So I'd maybe add something around that into it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, this is why we share the whole thing with everybody in the company, because everyone's going to have different views, and the idea here is that everyone buys into the terminology, into the words, and we can actually live and breathe it. So that's your vision. If you don't have one yet, go ahead and try and use some of those ideas to try and do it. Just some quick pointers on it as well. So the idea here is that you're just basically trying to define your overarching kind of strategy. So we can take that, even though it's not the final vision that we're going to have, we can take that and pretty much build our entire strategy around it. Because, right, tearing down the barriers to video. So what are the barriers? Okay, well, complex software is a barrier. Having the skill set is a barrier. Having creativity is a barrier. Time is a barrier. Cost is a barrier. So we now think about a product and say, okay, well, we can answer all those issues because there is no barriers. You can just click a few buttons and do it. It's fast, so we can kill the time issue. You don't need any technical skills, so that's great. So you can see how that sentence just can literally craft how the product's going to work. Like if you then go into a product workshop, or you're going to go and kind of iterate on a new version of your product, if you start throwing features in, which happens here, by the way, we do it all the time. We had it today. Like we were having a meeting earlier today, and we were talking about new features to add into the product. But then we just step back and say, okay, well, is it in line with who we're trying to serve? Does it actually fit the narrative of our vision, kind of thing? And then that can help you to actually make commercial decisions and say, actually, let's not do that. Let's take a step back and focus more on what the actual goal is. So that's why it's important to do this. So, so the next one is your mission, and where your vision is basically like your future statement, like it's what's gonna happen in the future. Your mission is basically about what's happening right now. So that's what a mission is. It's like we're on a mission, and this is what we're doing. These are the objectives of the mission to achieve the longer term goal. Whenever I hear the word mission, I always think of Metal Gear Solid for some reason. It's the first game.
Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
Hitman's
a great game. Hitman's a good example. Like if you take it as a game, like the vision in Hitman isn't to necessarily assassinate characters in that level or on that mission. The vision is actually to take down the echelon, like the big organization. That's the vision. But to do that, Agent 47 has to go on 12 missions or whatever it is to assassinate key individuals to break down the whole thing. So that's really kind of how you can define it. It's an aim, it's an objective, or a present feeling that you're kind of living by every day. An actionable version of your vision is what we have here, which I think is a good way to describe it.
Have you got our statement?
I can read our statement. Yeah, you'll like this one because it's better. It's better because it's shorter. So our mission is making it possible for anyone, anywhere, to effortlessly cook up stunning video content in just a few clicks. So with this, that feels more in line with kind of exactly what we are. We're making it possible for absolutely anyone. Like David was saying, was it your mother-in-law?
Yep.
Making cake, so anybody can do it. You can do it anywhere, so it doesn't matter if you're in an office, at home, or wherever else, or in your cake shop, to effortlessly cook up stunning video content. Again, we use cook up because it plays onto the whole food thing, which we've got a thing about. We used to have a thing about it, then we didn't have a thing about it, and now we do have a thing about it again.
Yeah, but the reason we've done that is because it was kind of by accident, wasn't it? Because we kind of had the word recipe in our new UX, and then recipes turned into ingredients, and then ingredients turned into pretty much.
Yeah, because what we did was when we first launched the product, there was a little video, an onboarding video, where we used to say, your video is baking, and it actually says it on the wall in the office, your video is baking. And then when Ben, our research person, was like, we've got these recipes, I was just like, Like that kind of works because we used to do this. We used to kind of
Yeah.
have this thing
Well,
before.
you bake an animation, don't you? See, that's what you once you've created the animation, you bake it,
Yeah.
and that's kind of where the terminology came from. Pretty much straight from that.
Yeah. So we try to incorporate that into the mission again because it gives us, it makes it unique to us. It's our personality. And then the last thing in there is just a few clicks. Like, and even though those words are so short and simple, like in just a few clicks, it literally is like it's pretty much the anchor in the business. Like, it has to be in a few clicks. Like, you were talking about it recently with processes, weren't you? Where you were saying it's not just 1,000 clicks, which it might be worth talking about that actually. So I think it's quite important.
Yeah. Well, I think we've had a few meetings where we've talked about the product, we've talked about the processes in the business and how we operate the business, and I think as you grow as an organization, you need all these things in place to scale because it's not just about kind of when you start, you've got maybe you and a co-founder, then you might have two more people. Um, if they need information, they come direct to the source of that information, which is you, and they get it firsthand. But as you grow and you get multiple layers of people, it's kind of like Chinese whispers. If you can say that nowadays, I'm not sure if you can, but I think it, things kind of get lost as things progress, and I think what we needed to do was put things in place that kind of everybody follows. So you got the process in the business. How do we do something? How do we come up with a concept? How do we come up with product ideas? How do they get communicated amongst the entire team? How do we make sure that sales and marketing are working together? How do we make sure that product and R&D are working together? And we kind of thought, well, if we make it really complicated, we're not going to achieve anything. We'll just stagnate and everything will take time. So the concept kind of came from when we initially started the business, it was just 3 clicks, and I think we applied that across the entire business now. It's not, if we're going to have a process, it needs to be, not 1,000 clicks or not 300 clicks. It needs to be, really quick, really easy. And again, I think we kind of did what we're talking about in our own minds. We just didn't formalize it.
Yeah, I think it's just our personality.
And I think I also think we deviated from it when we brought in other people into the business. So we brought people in from bigger businesses because we thought if we want to be a big business, we need to bring in people who've worked in big businesses so they can then, make us a big business. That's what,
Yeah.
I mean, it might sound really elementary. It might sound like a big fucking mistake. And people might be thinking, what the hell were you doing? But at the time, that was our logic was, well, if we want to become a big business, we need that experience. But what happened then is that's when we deviated from being kind of a fast organization, a simple organization. We became bloated. We became, we were worrying about things that we didn't need to worry about.
Yeah.
We were doing things that added no value to the business. We were doing things that took so much time and energy, but didn't get us anywhere kind of nearer our vision. And I think we lost our way for a good couple of years, really. We still grew, don't get me wrong. We still did well, but I don't think the business was as enjoyable to be in. It just wasn't us. It wasn't our personality. And I think at the end of the day, if you start a business, it's got to be a piece of you because you spend all your time there.
Yeah.
So I think we just had that kind of, I think the last kind of 3 to 6 months, we've really started to wrestle things back to resemble a business that we want to be involved in and we want to grow. And I think once we're kind of invigorated by the vision, the mission, I think everybody else kind of naturally is too.
Yeah.
I look at Steve Jobs at Apple. I mean, he had the vision, and look what he did with Apple. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, and it's still alive today. And the reason, like Apple strives in the same philosophy of Steve Jobs is because of the values that he instilled within the culture of the business. Like the culture was built off the back of his values. And I guess that's a good time to maybe pivot to the third thing. So just to summarize the mission, essentially it's the actionable version of your vision. So it's what you're doing right now, what you're doing today, tomorrow, next week to achieve that big kind of goal. And then one of the things David touched on there was like kind of you were kind of talking about our values there, really. Like it's like how we acted and how we thought about certain things, and we were spending too much time on certain things. Essentially, what that does is it comes back to what values you live by in the company. Now, there's a really good thing here from Facebook where they talk about their principles. They call it principles rather than values, same thing. So they say our principles are what we stand for, and they are the beliefs that we hold deeply and make trade offs to pursue. And I think that's a really strong thing to understand. Like, we have to make trade offs to pursue the vision based on kind of what they stand for. So it's like, as an example, like we might think a process is really good, it's important, or this feature is just so important because it can do this and this and this. But then sometimes we have to step back and look at what are the actual values that we live by in the company. Do they fit with this new thing we're trying to do? No. Well, then we have to make a trade off.
Well, as an example, right? So with our MPS kind of app that we use, I see every MPS comment that comes in, and probably every few days we get something that says Viddyoze is great, but I wish I could move the text around. Now, I wish I had more kind of, I wish I could do more with it. I wish I had more flexibility. But the problem we've got as a business is if we make things too flexible, then maybe 80% of our user base will actually move things around and create things that don't kind of look good, which then moves us away from our vision. Because obviously we want to make it effortless to make amazing content.
Yeah.
And then the content becomes less amazing because
they make mistakes because they're not professional.
And that's where you kind of, when you've got a customer and you've got a lot of customers saying, I wish I had this, sometimes you've got to say, do you know what? The trade-off is that we're not the right company for you. We're not the right tool for you to use. There's a better tool out there for you that matches what you need.
Yeah.
Because we want to serve a particular user base. And I think that's where you start making the trade-offs. But if you've got your values there written down, and you've got your vision again, it's much easier to make decisions because you can bounce it off the walls essentially of these statements and say, does it fit? If it doesn't fit, then unfortunately we can't do it. And that is easy to communicate to the entire team because you've got people in the support team who hear this all the time, who might be getting frustrated because they're like, why can't we just do this one thing? Because it would solve so many tickets. But it's like, no, we can't do it because it doesn't match with what we're trying to achieve. And I think it just makes it easier to communicate things across the entire organization. And it makes it easier for people to spot that too. Rather than coming to us and saying, can we do this? They can probably work out themselves that no, we can't. Because it's not who we are.
Exactly. So, and that's what it comes down to is like who we are. So the definition of values is the principles or the standards of behavior, one's judgment of what is important in life, but in this scenario, it would be in business. So I'll give you a rundown of kind of like our values that we have so far. So effortlessly creative. So we believe that being creative should be an effortless process, which is why Viddyoze is super easy to use. You come up with the ideas and we make it happen quickly and effectively. Second one is passionate and ambitious. Video is our life, watching videos, sharing videos, and all of the above. It defines the way that we see and experience the world. It's this that fuels our passion for fully democratizing video creation so that it's accessible and affordable to absolutely anyone on the planet. Third one, authentic and adventurous. Our underdog and enterprising attitude to life and work with a pinch of rebelliousness thrown in for good measure helped us get from, hey, wouldn't it be cool to make videos accessible to anyone, to a massive 8-figure software enterprise. So we value authenticity and taking risks. We learn, we adapt, and we move on. So I won't go through all of them, but you can hear there the reason that we have these laid out is because if somebody was being hired, like let's say we're going through a hiring process and they're in an interview, a lot of people will ask that question and say, what is the culture? Like, what are the values? What am I supposed to be living and breathing by here? And this is where these things come in. So I can put my hands up and say, like, some of the people that we've hired in the past, like historically, haven't been in line with kind of the values that we really, truly actually believed in. And we didn't consciously know that at the time. But as we've kind of matured as a company, I can look back several years and say, oh, this is actually why this person didn't work out. wasn't necessarily because they were shit. Sometimes they were, but it was because like they just didn't fit with what we were trying to do.
Yep. Yeah, I think the way we want to work and the way, yeah, again, the culture of the business. Like we got asked this question recently: what is the culture? And I think we just laid back was our thing.
Yeah.
We didn't really know. Like we never really thought about it. And I think this has really been a good exercise. And I think, as I mentioned, it's not something you need to do, but I think if I started another business tomorrow, I would do this first,
Yeah.
and then everything that we did as a business would be like, does it match this? So when we hire somebody, do they share our values? If so, like great. If not, you might be the world's best like salesperson, but you're not going to fit into the company. And I think the problem you've got is you don't really understand if it's like when you meet someone for the first time. Like everyone's really polite. You kind of you get on because you're not yet being yourself. And I think
Yeah.
when someone starts a new job, that happens too. They adapt their personality and their values to fit the new environment. But then 6 months in, they start to be themselves and be who they really are. And that's when you kind of work out, we're not going to have a fit here. It can take a few months, but if you've 6 months into a new business and you've just worked out, I've got the wrong people, then you've got a problem.
Yeah.
So I think, having those there up front and really building your interview questions around those values and drilling down, like you can probably get 5 questions out of your values as a business, like to find out, does someone actually share the values we have as an organization? Well, if you can do that, you get the right people on the bus and it's much easier to
Yeah.
scale.
Yeah. I'd pretty much echo all of that, really. I think, in essence, like, summary is like these things, whilst they're not necessarily like critical, I think as you grow as a company, like you can just see how much impact they have.
Yeah, and putting it in place at the start, just kind of, it might seem like overkill, but it will help you in the future. And I think you might go through multiple iterations even before it becomes really important, but just getting into that kind of flow of doing it will mean that when someone says, what's the culture here? What do you stand for? You can just send them a document and say, have a read, and it's much easier and sitting in interviews going, yeah, we're so laid back here.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's kind of like a compass. Like, it just gives you a bit of guidance, like, if you feel like you don't know where you're going in your business. I mean, one of the things we're doing now is we're getting a, it sounds really silly, but like it's important. It's silly, but it's also important. Like, we're getting like a big just 3 clicks, like, thing made that's going to be stuck on the front of the building kind of thing. And it's like, it's just a conscious visual reminder. It's like, we can put the company logo up there. That's fine. Like, it's Viddyoze, but the whole essence of what we do is about automation, just 3 clicks, making it fast, effortless. And I think having it up there is like a reminder to everyone when they're walking in the building and saying, all right, this is what we're about. This is why we're here. So, cool. Anything you want to add to that before we wrap up?
I don't think so, no. I think we covered that pretty well.
Cool.
Probably the only thing would be just, yeah, like if you're sitting there thinking that this just sounds like a load of BS, then you're probably not ready to do this yet. I mean, we were doing that. We were saying that years ago. It sounds like BS. Someone actually tried to make us do it, and I remember just thinking, this is a lot of bullshit. And sometimes you've got to go on that journey and feel the pain, and then understand. Do you know what? Yeah, maybe it does make sense. And I'm pretty sure we'll do the same thing with another thing in the future. And I'm sure you will if you're listening to this. But sometimes you've got to go on the journey yourself. But sometimes, maybe just listen to what people say and actually do the thing, and you might find that you do get a benefit from it.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, hope you enjoyed that episode. If you have any questions, you can write to us, and make sure you leave a comment if you're watching on YouTube, and leave us a review as well, because we like reading them. So see you in the next episode.